Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Learn. Let's go ahead and get our screen up and locked and loaded. We are back. I'm actually on site today, so if you hear noise, I'm sorry about it, but I am at I'm at CalCog, California.
Angie, you're on mute.
Uh, no, she's not. You can hear she's on two different accounts.
All right, I'm good, right?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. Okay, so yeah, here on site, actually here with the regional energy networks, talking about regional energy networks with COGS. But I hope you're all doing well around the state as people are flowing in. Just want to say, wow, we've done 50 of these meetings, so we're on meeting 50. So thank you for hanging around with us for so long. It feels like only yesterday we began, but we have talked about a lot of opportunities. Okay. Folks, Kelsey, you've got the screen up, right?
Yes, the screen is up.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive right into the next slide. So you guys know what we do here at Learn. So we're here to do an interactive 1 hour together. We try to create a regular space for locals and their partners to talk about opportunities that are coming your way that can make it easier for you to get your energy and climate work done. So you come in, get briefed, and go back to work. We have a big, I think, an important meeting for us today. I know everybody, including through our Sleek network, we have learned that so many of you are thinking about energy affordability. So that's really the topic for today. That's one of Sleek's top priorities is the connection between energy affordability and decarbonization. So our featured conversation today is going to actually have three tools, energy affordability tools that we wanted to get out in front of you. So we're going to hear from PSC on their energy affordability tool. We have friends from the California Energy Commission here on their Energy Affordability Index. And then we also have a guest here from Just Solutions who's going to share with you a little overview of their energy affordability library, which helps us get a chance to see what other folks across the nation, other states are doing around energy affordability. So we'll do what we always do and start with a little opportunity roundtable. Which I'll share with you a couple of opportunities I'm aware of. Then we'll go into a spotlight also on an interview opportunity, an opportunity to share some knowledge and insights with our friends at SGC through a student at UC Berkeley. Okay.
First of all, real quick, shout out to him.
So, I think I need somebody to mute.
Respect.
All right, so if we're on to our opportunity roundtable slide, there's a few things I wanted to just highlight here before we get into our speakers. The first thing is, just since we're on the topic of energy affordability, I wanted to just highlight SB 868. I know a lot of you are thinking about it and talking about it. It's the plug-in solar bill, Senator Wiener. And there was a recent article actually from Canary Media that I thought you all would be interested in listening to or reading. It's making the case about how these kinds of plug-in solar bills across the country are helping to lead to greater energy affordability for folks. And so I just thought I would share the link. So you can see that link, I think, in the chat. It basically says as utility bills climb and contribute to broader cost of living challenges across the United States, legislators see affordability tech as an affordability tool. And it's just talking about how so much plug-in solar is booming already in Europe. There are 4 million households in Germany that have installed the systems, and they can even order it through IKEA. That's crazy. Okay, so you'll see that article come through the chat, and there's a couple of funding opportunities I wanted to lift up that we haven't talked about before. One is through the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It's called Local Data for Equitable Communities. It would actually be due at the end of April 30th. It's a grant program that provides flexibility for applicants to determine what data are needed to answer their proposed project questions, and how those data are collected, analyzed, disseminated, and used by community members. So folks like the folks on this call would be among those that would be eligible. So summaries for past projects of local data, for equitable community grantees are available. And so eligible grantees include communities, 501c3 and C4 non-profit organizations. It's not a gigantic one. I'm trying to remember. I think it's 50 grand, up to 50 grand, but it's maybe a simpler application than some. The other one I wanted to lift up, and it's because I've talked about it plenty, I just want you to know that it's now live, is the Strategic Growth Council's Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program. This, I think it's its 10th round, and so we have shared previous grant guidelines with you that have been slightly modified this year. It's a big one, and so those of you that are in or connected to affordable housing, just wanted to let you know that that is now live. The solicitation is live, and you have until, sorry, I'm getting my slides up and running here. May 4th, thanks. May 4th for that program. It's a large lift, so our friends at Strategic Growth Council often tell us it's good to start as early as possible, even before the solicitation goes live. There's few programs that I want to make sure you know are on the horizon. So Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation has an extreme heat and community resilience program. Round 2 that's expected to come out in spring 2026. So I know they're really heating up and getting ready to go. It's not live yet, but it's getting close. In summer or fall, we're expecting to see Strategic Growth Council's Transformative Climate Communities program. That's a big dollar sort of neighborhood-based program. So just wanting you to make sure you're aware that that's coming. And I think either summer, fall, they haven't given us a direct date on it yet, but Strategic Growth Council's Community Resilience Centers program is another one that you can look out for later this year. A couple of input opportunities I wanted to lift up as well. So some of you may be following like I am. The California Energy Commission has its SB 100 draft results. They've done a workshop. They actually were nice enough to come to our most recent SLEEK and to talk about the SB 100 report, which basically is the roadmap out to our clean energy transition and providing scenarios for how we're going to get there with our load and talking about implementation challenges and barriers and opportunities. They also just lifted up yesterday in the docket their inputs and assumptions if you're looking for that. Comments are actually due on March 20th, and you're welcome to join SEEK in our comments. We'll be submitting by March 20th as well. LCI wants us to share with you as well. They have a draft 2026 Extreme Heat Action Plan out for comment out right now. And so if that's something that you are working on, and I know a lot of you kind of cross over between mitigation and adaptation, you're welcome to submit comments there as well. This last one in blue is actually our spotlight speaker. So that helps me make a good transition here to our next slide, where I get to hand off to Sophia, who's actually with UC Berkeley, and she's just doing some work. I think it's a capstone project with Strategic Growth Council to help us all better understand the issue we all experience around funding, layering, or stacking to get these climate projects done. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Sophia. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Angie, for having me. And thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be in this space. Happy to be here. So as Angie mentioned, my name is Sophie Magallon, and I am in my last semester of the UC Berkeley Goldman School of Public Policy program. And in our last semester, we work with a client, mine being the Strategic Growth Council, and I'm working closely with Mel Moyes to research and give input on a public policy area of interest, this one being the project with SGC to see how it can strengthen coordination across California's climate, energy, and sustainability grant programs. Really the goal being to support communities, local governments, and regional agencies in implementing transformative climate projects on the ground. And so the main focus is to analyze these patterns of fund stacking, or as Angie mentioned, the practice of combining funds from multiple grant programs needed to finance a clean energy or resilience project in communities. And we want to identify areas of misalignment across these different grant programs that are being used, which are housed in various state agencies, that can make this practice and does make this practice difficult for many people, especially the communities applying for these grants. And so my main goal for this research is to provide policy recommendations to reduce administrative burdens, improve project efficiency, and deliverable equitable access to state climate and energy funding. And I'm here today to pitch my interviews, as Angie mentioned, and part of my methodology will be looking case studies, grant application data, but most importantly, interviews with members who have expertise and experience with California's grant programs and fund stacking practices. And I will be conducting these interviews over the next few weeks, so would love the opportunity to connect with any of you who are interested. So I'll put my email in the chat so we can follow up. And yeah, thank you, Angie, and everyone again for letting me be in this space to make my pitch today.
Thanks, Sophia.
Very excited to hear from Sophia, and really just happy to help them get some more information here. I think a lot of you guys are on the ground and you know exactly the problems that you have with stacking capital and all these sources that you need to make these projects happen. So the more they know, the more they're in position to maybe help us. Okay. So if we can go on to our next slide, we're going to dive into the featured conversation of today. And so, like I said, energy affordability is on everybody's mind in all sorts of different ways. All we're doing today is really trying to share with you some of the tools and resources that exist as you work in your community to tackle energy affordability. So our first speaker today, I'm really excited to introduce. His name is Eunice. He is a senior data scientist with PSE, and he is going to share their energy affordability tool. While you're listening, if you can add to the chat any questions you have for Eunice, he is going to take those at the end. And then we've got two more speakers on energy affordability. Okay, Eunice, take it away. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Angie. You can go to the next slide. Hi, everybody. I'm Eunice Kinkabwala. I'm a researcher at PSE Healthy Energy. We are a nonprofit research institution that aims to bring science into the debate between around energy, intersection with policy, and public health and affordability. And one of the things we do is we like to develop tools for communities to inform their decision making. And so if you go to the next slide, what I'm going to show you today is a tool that we've been working on for a few years. And somebody in a talk recently pointed out that it's not often the thing that you're working on is mentioned both at the State of the Union address and also at the Super Bowl. And so energy affordability is, widely in the press and in the news, but it's not new. Energy affordability has been a challenge for communities for a long time. We estimate that around $30 billion are needed nationally annually to pay for bill assistance to keep our costs down to already a pretty conservative affordability threshold. And that's going to worsen, especially in certain places where energy prices are outpacing inflation. And as a result, households are going to need to make sacrifices to meet their daily needs or risk shutoff and disconnection. And one thing we realized when we started working on this is that there just wasn't, what we really wanted was a data set of everybody's in America, all the households, their energy consumption and how much they spend and what type of homes they live in and how many people live in their homes and what they spend their energy on, whether it's for heating their homes or heating their water. And we realized that was never accessible because of data privacy. But there's enough data out there where we could simulate that and get a good enough approximation of what this would look like. And so we've used this for a few states and community orgs and utility regulation analyses. And what I'm going to show you today is the National Energy Affordability Tool, which allows anybody to have access to this data. If you go to the next slide. It's not out yet, but I'm going to pop the link here, but it is free and publicly accessible, and we aim to share the link in late April. So if you go to that link and you type in LERN, you can play with it already, but be warned, there are some bugs and some things that still need to be finagled, and also that that access code will self-destruct in a week. But I'll share a link later where you're to the mailing list and you can notified when the final version is out, or if you just want a little bit more time, just let us know. So first, I want to, and I see a question pop up real quick. Yes, it is going to be open source, and all the data is going to be publicly available. So, and the methodology. The workflow for the tool I'll go through briefly, and then I'll go through a bit of a specific use case in more detail. The idea is you can choose your own region. You'll get maps showing energy affordability statistics down to census tract level. That's like communities of like 1,000 to 2,000 households-ish. And then you can dive deeper and find out what's driving those energy costs. Is it your water heating? Is it your gas bill or your electric bill? How does it differ for people who are in large households or have lower education or rent their homes? And then layered on top of that is another tool where you can then implement solutions or modifications to the data to say, like, what happens if rates go up? Or if we have balcony solar, how would that shift these energy affordability statistics, such as bill assistance needs and cost burdens? And then you can refine and continue the cycle. So going to the next slide. If you load the tool and you go to California, you're going to see actually a warning, a warning where you can, that there are additional features specifically for California, but they're not actually working just yet. But the idea is you can choose by your county, metropolitan area, your electrical utility, and you can just get the customers for that utility. And then if you go to the next slide, you're going to see populate a map. This using drop downs at the top can let you change a bunch of different variables. And this one right here is showing you the energy affordability gap, and that's the total amount of bill assistance you would need to pay all energy costs for everything at home, not for transportation, everything at home down to 6%, which is a somewhat standard energy cost burden metric. And then each census tract here has 2 dots because we're disaggregating in this case by renter status. So there's a dot for renters and a dot for owners. The size of that dot is the total energy affordability gap. On the right, there's aggregate statistics that you can calculate. There's a few additional ones. This one's showing you the total amount of that needs to be spent to run homes, which is around 400 million for renters and slightly less than owners. But total affordability gap, which is that graph on the bottom, is higher than for owners, presumably because renters have lower incomes. If you go to the next slide, you scroll down the tool, there's a few things you can look at. So without going into too much depth here, the thing I want to note is that you can disaggregate by a whole bunch of different variables. And you can also importantly find out how much energy and how much spending is needed broken down by end use, such as heating and cooling, which say can be improved with weatherization, or by or in this case, what I'm showing you is just how much total spending is needed for natural gas and electricity. But you can tweak a lot of the variables and change it to be average cost, and you can even visualize the emissions that can be attributed to these households as well. And so in this example, it's on the right, you see there most of the energy spending for owner-occupied single-family homes, while on the left you see there's more for renter-occupied homes, there's more spending is going to be happening in multifamily homes. Go to the next slide. Now, I'm skipping over a few visualizations, but I think this one's fun. And if you pull it up on your machine, it's fun because you can drag the circles around. But what this is showing is now, how do you investigate what are the relationships with indicators and attributes of households? So you can identify which households are struggling the most and how do they correlate with these other variables and dimensions. And so in this visualization, there's a whole bunch of bubbles. And each bubble captures all the households that fall into that category. And the size of that bubble is that affordability gap statistic, that bill assistance need statistic. And so that very large red one is for all households that are less than 100% the federal poverty level for their income. And so that shows that there's a large amount of bill assistance needed for them. but also the red color shows that their cost burden is also very high. But then when you look at it, you can see which bubbles they're closer to. And so they're strongly correlated with living in multifamily homes, identifying as Black, renting their homes, and also however, at the bottom right, there's a whole different little cluster. This is something we often see where with in single that higher incomes, in this case, that and while they have lower cost burdens on average, the size of their bubble shows that there's still many people that fall within these categories that bill assistance, even though the category itself has a low average cost burden. So there's additional visualizations you can do here, but based on the trends that you notice from here, you can then layer on top of this oh, I'm sorry if I'm breaking up. I just saw that. My Wi-Fi has been bad today. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Eunice. If it gets bad, we might just have you turn your video off.
I'll do that right now just to see. So you can layer on top of this. So once you've identified these trends, you can start investigating how to decrease these energy challenges for these communities. And so going on to the next slide, if you click that Launch Decision Support Tool button, that will pop up this dialog that allows you to now change energy spending and cost for all of these households. So this includes rate changes. You can implement efficiency, which reduces how much they need to use. You can improve the carbon emissions from the grid. You can do fuel switching and upgrade resistive heating systems to heat pumps, incentivize demand response, apply different bill assistance programs, different behind the meter and community solar programs. There's a way I know Angie mentioned earlier, balcony solar. There's a way you could just throw in balcony solar for all the households and see how that might shift energy spending. And similarly, energy storage behind the meter. So if you go to the next slide, in this example, I simply, in the top right, I increased the average energy cost this was Alameda County, all of these figures I'm showing you right now. I increased it by 10%. And what you see in the map is where the affordability gap will increase the most. So areas with larger circles are going to see an increased need in bill assistance. Then on the right, you can further disaggregate that by saying, okay, what about different types of households? How are they going to see different statistics change? It can be emissions, gap. In this case, I'm showing the average annual energy cost. And here, unsurprisingly, you'll see the homes relying on electricity to heat their homes see a higher increase in their energy cost. So then you may ask yourself, okay, home scenario of increased electric rate. So then, next slide. Thanks. Then what you can do is go back to the main page and filter out your own custom data set. So which are the homes you're interested in and the demographics. So you can do race or education, how many people live in the home, whether they rent or own, single family, multifamily homes, poverty thresholds, how they heat their homes, and a few more. And in this case, I've highlighted just households that with income less than the federal poverty level and homes that rely on electricity for their space heating. And then you can repeat and generate additional data. So moving on to the next slide. So we'll try to get this link in the chat so that you can, oh, thank you. Or you can try to scan it somehow yourself. This way you can sign up for the newsletter. Sign up for notifications when we are ready to release the tool. However, I want to point out that we are eager for all sorts of feedback, and we also offer some technical assistance in using the tool. And in this preliminary stages, especially, we're excited to add new features so that we can expand the feature set to answer questions, especially we have a bit of a focus on California right now because we are based in Oakland and we do a lot of work there. So please do not be shy and reach out, and I'm ready for any questions.
Thanks, Eunice. I really like these PSE Smarties. That was a nice presentation, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I know a lot of folks on this call have been worried about energy affordability and come from a municipal organization. Hopefully, we get to talk a little bit more about just how you want them to interact with this tool, what kinds of things you think it could really help with their work on the ground. But let's go to the chat. And I see Cooper has a question here. Is the Energy Affordability Tool code available open source?
I have an academic paper coming and all the deep methodologies. And so the tool and the data itself will be available for anyone. It's a bit unwieldy, though. It's several gigabytes.
Okay, thank you. Folks, feel free to continue adding to the chat. So Omri's got a couple questions here. He's asking, he wants to hear your thoughts on the DOE's low income energy affordability data, so LEAD tool.
Yeah, the LEED tool is great. It's and there's similar methodologies that are shared between the two. And the trends, I've done comparisons, and the trends that we've calculated match for the most part. There's new additional dimensions that we want to be able to add that were not available or easy to do with the LEED tool, and that was around like just getting the actual energy. So LEED relies on energy cost data submitted on survey. So you fill out your census and you say how much was your last energy bill, and then you estimate that. And that misses out on some of like how the energy is broken down by end use, and that affects which policies will help best with that. So if you know, oh, almost all your energy is being spent on heating and cooling, then weatherization is going to be like a really impactful intervention there. And similarly, we wanted additional like demographics and disaggregations that just weren't in that data set, which is why we started this exercise. But if you can do it tool, if you're looking at maps of cost burdens by census tract and all that, it's great, and the data there is reliable from what we've seen.
I'd love to hear from folks too as we're talking. If you are a municipality looking to support your constituents and customers, or you're a program and implementer or administrator, how you can see yourself potentially using this tool. And feel free, if you see some areas of feedback you'd like to give on the spot, you can feel free to do that, or it sounds like Eunice will have more opportunities. Omri is also asking, he says, I have data gap. I have a data gap I see around the energy burden that small businesses are facing. Are there any good sources of data or visualizations that provide this same level of information for non-residential sectors?
I don't know any offhand. Maybe somebody else here does for small commercial buildings. I would be interested to see if anybody knows anything.
Okay. All right. So we'll dig around for more information there. All right. Cooper's also, oh, thank you. I think it was Kels, making sure that I think, is it the beta version that you want folks to take a look in and kind of tinker around in here, Eunice?
Yeah, we only have a beta version right now. So, right.
Okay. So Cooper's asking, is the tool meant to be used for individual households or only for aggregate analysis?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. And I forgot to mention this. So the way we generate the data set is we simulated all the homes with energy survey data. However, if there is a big energy efficiency push that happened in a certain community, that's a type of trend that we're not going to capture very well. So where this tool sits is where you think about collections. Like I want to think about in my area all the ones that rent or all the ones in mobile homes and so on. And we can actually do, another thing I forgot to mention is we can do more with the data set than you can do with the tool. So if there's requests like, oh, can you look at this extra piece of dimensions and pull out this data and mess with it this way, there's a chance we could do that. But we don't know if Steve in that census tract, we don't know his individual energy costs. So it's not reliable down to the individual household scale.
Okay. Thank you. Jeffrey is asking, is AMI available for income as
It
opposed
is,
to
yeah.
FPG? Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
It
we
says,
have,
yep.
yeah, AMI was the state area median incomes, or actually, I forget if it's state or county, which one I ended up finding. But yes, area median income is another filter.
Okay, perfect. Two more questions here. Thanks everybody for your engagement. Is there a plan to connect affordability to utility virtual power plants or integration of renewables into the grid?
Yes, that is the dream. So currently in that policy tool, you can, for example, say like, what if we had 10 megawatts of community solar built into the grid and all that? And the idea is we want to be able to merge this with power sector planning to help inform what is like good blends between energy assets that are on the distribution side that are owned by households and communities as opposed to utility-owned assets. And that requires some additional layers where we have to get like the load, like how much people consume energy in every hour of the year to start thinking about getting that synthesized with virtual power plants. But it is something that we hope to have available, at least for our exploration in the near future.
And it had come up in Sleek recently. We're looking at the SB 100 report, the projections for future load, and the question came up, hey, what was this? What is this going to do to affordability? That wasn't part of that analysis, but it'd be interesting to see if you guys would have anything to say about what it would do, like a projection. Are you in the business of projections?
We've played with some projections, and candidly, we are part of a contract to the CEC, so there's only so much I can share around research related to that. But what we can say at a high level is affordability. What increasing supply costs are a smallish portion of what's going to drive rate increases in the future. The rate increases are going to be driven more by things like distribution grid investments and California has the fire mitigation efforts. And so the what really is, do you have access to efficiency? Are you getting an EV? EVs can have drastic impacts on how much energy cost you have to use at your home. Things such as that are really the important drivers for the future, or if you have behind the meter resources.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes left for this segment, I believe, and we have a couple more questions. What about CCA data? Our municipality is enrolled in a CCA. How does selecting utility for the scope address that?
I would be very open to more discussions about how to incorporate CCAs in their data. I haven't looked into that in depth. If there is the way we do it currently is we have utilities report how many customers they have and their service territories that they serve. And so we run some models to estimate, all right, of the people in their service territory, this million households are customers of this utility. If there's similar data sets for CCAs and maps, then there's a potential to include that. And then we could update that to have CCA specific rates as well. So please reach out.
Yeah, great idea. Probably several CCAs in the room that might reach out. How about resilience? How can outage impacts or the value of solar and storage and efficiency interventions address outage impacts?
So that is a capability we want to pull into the tool eventually. And the idea is, you don't adopt behind the meter solar and storage just to reduce your energy costs. You do it because you want to, for a variety of reasons. One of those might be so you can have some backup energy power. And maybe that's because you need energy when the power goes out for like health or safety reasons. And so a vision is to integrate all of that so that you can see both this is how it affects cost, but also these are the additional benefits you get from having that behind the meter resources.
Eunice, can I just tell you, as a facilitator, you give such snappy answers, so we're getting through a lot of them. Thank you. So one more question. Does the tool include the projected impacts or opportunities related to transportation electrification?
Also a dream of ours. So no transportation. We do hope to simulate driving behaviors of households and integrate that so then you can look at that fuller picture. Because one of the things you can do with the tool, which I think can be very powerful, is you can layer on multiple initiatives. You can say, well, you electrify, which may, in one case, increase your costs. But if you pair that with access to community solar and some increase in efficiency, then you can decrease your costs. And oftentimes these things are all happen at the same time because you have to upgrade your panel at your home in order to have the heat pumps installed, which then makes it easier to get behind the meter resources or to get an EV at home charger. And so one of the use cases we hope for this is finding those synergies and which households can benefit most from those synergies. And I'll be honest, it's not the most accessible tool in terms of like the capability of using all those inputs, and those are still under development and change. So I'll say one more time, reach out if you would, and we'd love to help you think out how our tool can help you with that sort of research question.
All right. Well, I think that's the ask. They want you to go and look at this thing, tinker around in it, send them any feedback you have. I'm really curious when you do tinker around in it, how you think it's going to help you advance some of your energy and climate goals there at home, and maybe be useful in some of these programs. So many of you are telling me like it's hard for us to move to electrification because rates are increasing so much. So it seems to me that there could be some usefulness here. Thank you, PSE, for all the work you're doing. Can everybody throw some emojis up for Eunice and team? Okay, I think people are excited. All right, let's move on to our next speaker. Eunice is going to hang around. So if you have questions, you can continue to post those in the chat. We're going to go to our next speaker. So we're really fortunate to have California Energy Commission with us today. So we are going to hear from Martin Flores, and he's going to share with us the CEC's Energy Affordability Index. Again, throw some questions in the chat, and we'll have a few minutes for that as well. Thanks for being here, Martin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Martin Flores. I am part of the Energy Assessments Division at the California Energy Commission, and I am excited to talk to you guys about some of my work today. Next slide, please. Okay. So the Energy Affordability Index was developed as part of a broader effort called the Energy Equity Indicators. And the purpose of energy equity indicators is to aid the Energy Commission in identifying solutions, prioritizing areas, and highlighting opportunities for investments in energy justice communities. And so we like to think of this effort as the energy complement to the CalEnviroScreen tool developed by the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, because it allows us to further hone in on disadvantaged communities as identified by SB 535. And it even allows us to identify some at-risk communities that CalEnviroScreen might have left out. To accomplish this, we first compiled some existing metrics that span the many facets of energy equity, from reliability all the way to affordability. And then we used CEC-maintained data to build on those metrics with unique and novel approaches. And so in this process, one of the categories that we noticed still lacked utility was energy affordability. Not because valuable metrics didn't exist, but because without a strong data analysis background, many of our interested parties might be misled by metrics like the energy burden, for example. And so in an effort to remedy this, we created the Energy Affordability Index. Next slide, please. Sorry, I have really bad allergies today. So to guide the development of our metric, we investigated where the current shortcomings of existing metrics were, which led us to two main findings. And so to understand the first shortcoming a little bit better, I want us to think of a scenario where we have two households. In one, you have a single man making $100K a year and paying $10K in annual energy costs. And then in the other, you have a family of 4 with the same combined income and the same annual energy costs. And so the simple energy burden calculation would take these values and calculate a score of 10% for both households. This is traditionally considered a high energy burden and would put both households past the energy poverty threshold. But we know that the family will surely be at higher risk of experiencing financial strain since food, transportation, and medical expenses will increase with each additional person. And so we also know that low-income families tend to live in households with more people, so ignoring the household size and its associated living costs can really skew our understanding of energy poverty in the state. And although this example is specific to the energy burden, it is important to note that the energy affordability gap is quantified using a similar method, and so the criticism applies to it as well. The second shortcoming with using established metrics is that fuel costs are not normally included in the calculation. This can be for several different reasons, but in general, transportation fuel cost estimates are rare, and the data to calculate these estimates is not easily available. As a result, the energy burden values, which are more often referenced in studies, only account for fuels consumed within the home. And we know that transportation costs can be significant, and at times they can be even higher than electricity, natural gas, and fuel oil combined. And so ignoring transportation fuels and our affordability metrics creates a significant gap in our understanding of total energy affordability, especially in areas with a large share of low fuel efficiency vehicles and in rural locations that require long distance trips to acquire daily necessities. Next slide, please. Oh, shoot, I think I skipped a slide. I am so sorry about that. Thankfully, I discussed everything on that slide. So to improve on the existing affordability metrics, we identified 4 data sets that could be aggregated to more appropriately characterize energy poverty and energy insecurity. And they are household income, household energy costs that include both in-home energy use and on-road energy consumption, living costs, and household size. And it's worth mentioning that California's Public Utilities Commission has already aggregated some of these data sets to create their affordability ratio, but they do not account for the variance in household living costs that can be attributed to household size. And they also do not account for transportation fuel costs. So from an equity perspective, we still have some work to do. And so in our metric, we characterize living costs by aggregating medical, transportation, and food costs, in addition to housing and utility services. And these living costs scale up or down depending on the household size. So this adjustment is significant because it better characterizes the affordability challenges faced by homes with abnormally large families, which are seen in low-income communities. And it allows us to further hone in on the communities that face the most financial strain. Next slide. The method we developed to calculate this index requires several data sets from numerous organizations. Household income and household size data is gathered from the US Census Bureau. Cost of living data comes from the University of Washington. And our energy cost data comes from an aggregation of data sets from the Energy Commission, Caltrans, and the US Department of Energy. The final aggregation relies on 2 percentile scores. The first term estimates the financial strain that energy costs place on households, and then the second term estimates the household's ability to react to energy price changes. And then we sum these 2 terms and rank them by percentile to obtain the final energy affordability index score. In the final form, high scores are considered less affordable and low scores are more affordable, which follows the same logic as the Calabar Screen score. Next slide. Okay, so to validate the energy affordability index, we decided to perform 2 tests. First, we wanted to investigate how the energy affordability index aligns with different community types by running Pearson correlation tests. And then we wanted to see how these results compare to similar correlation tests for other metrics. And in the first test, we found that minorities in general, but in particular single moms and Latino communities, have strong links to low affordability according to our metric. We also found that married couples and white communities experience more affordable energy costs. And I know that these results are not surprising for any of us to hear, but this does quantitatively validate well-established qualitative accounts of affordability across different community types. And so then in our second test, we found that our metric aligns better with pre-established affordability experiences than any of the other metrics we tested. CalEnviroscreen and the CPUC's affordability ratio were comparable, but in nearly all cases, the Energy Affordability Index still found stronger links. The energy burden and the energy affordability gap, however, had significantly weaker correlations than our metric on almost all accounts. And so in summary, the Energy Affordability Index does better validate the qualitative accounts of affordability that different communities face. Next slide.
Hey, Martin. Oh, perfect. Okay. You know what? In the interest of time, we have one more speaker. That was fantastic. I think, Martin, you're able to hang around for overtime, right? In the bonus breakout
Yeah, I think I can do that.
for a couple of minutes. Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but folks should please raise those questions. We'll get to those in the bonus breakout. I do just want to make sure we have time for our final speaker. Martin, thank you. I've heard such wonderful things about your work, and it's really nice to get an introduction to what California Energy Commission's been working on. I have questions for you. We'll take it into overtime.
Cool.
Let's go to our next and last speaker, Dr. Elena Krager. She is with Just Solutions, and I don't know about you, but I keep seeing a lot about their energy affordability tool. It's a library. And so sometimes we like to share with you what other folks across the nation are doing around various policy issues. And so she's going to give us a little overview about what you can use, how you can use this tool. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And apologies to everyone for my voice. I'm just getting over a cold. So I just put a link to the tool in the chat here. So if you like to, you can start to explore it and follow along. My name is Elena Krieger. I lead the research and policy team at Just Solutions. We are a national nonprofit that works on equitable and just energy and climate solutions, although we work with a number of core states, including California. And in this energy affordability policy library that I am going to walk through with you, we pulled together a few dozen policy options that enable states to do a mix of bringing down bills right now for households, as well as thinking about broader systemic changes to ensure that energy affordability can be achieved in the long term. So this policy library is built on a framework that we released this fall, and I'll put the link for that in the chat in a little bit. We're thinking about energy affordability policy solutions in a few different buckets. The first of those is household protections. So what do we do and what can we do right now to make sure that households who are facing unaffordable bills and potential disconnections don't get disconnected, can pay their bill, things like outage protection, disconnection protections. The second broad bucket, and I'll walk through these in a moment, is residential decarbonization measures, many of the same things that Eunice was talking about earlier, that can be implemented to bring down household demand in line with the transition to clean energy over time. The third broad bucket is looking at utility reform measures, ways to improve transparency and accountability, bring in improve cost containment, and ensure that a clean energy transition is done in such a way that we achieve additional affordability benefits. And then a fourth category, which I'll walk through, is additional funding and financing mechanisms that can help support some of these transition measures so that we're not forced to put them all into rates, which is one of the sort of tensions that we often see when we're thinking about how to advance different kinds of clean energy measures, for example. So To walk through the library, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. Thank you. And let me know if you can get this. Again, please jump in on your own. The policy library is primarily aimed for state level policy solutions, but we do have some local solutions in here as well, which I'll highlight as we go through. So there are a number of search functions as you're looking around what your different options are. The first is to drop down by these broad categories that I suggested earlier. So if we look up, for example, household protections, which I just mentioned, we can get things like low income rates, which California already has in terms of things like care and FARA rates, but also percentage of income payment plans, which actually cap bills at 6% of or 4% or whatever seems like a reasonable amount of household income, which California is currently piloting but has not actually done at scale. If we switch instead and look at something like residential decarb, we can look up and we'll pull up a slew of different policies ranging from community solar, which California has struggled to some degree to implement, to things like pre-weatherization programs, which provide upfront funding for households to remediate mold and address other household repairs that are needed before they can even participate in efficiency measures. I'm going to actually jump in now and show you what's actually in one of these policies. So if we look through here, for example, in pre-weatherization programs, there's an example of why this policy matters. There's a brief overview of what the policy solution is. And then a set of model policy features. What do you actually need for upfront funding for a pre-weatherization program? Let's say carve-outs for lower income households, easy stacking capability with different kinds of funding and incentives, tenant protections, as well as a section here on potential limitations and pitfalls. And this is because many of the policies that we look at maybe have negative consequences, maybe have barriers to implementation that we see where they sound really good on paper, but can face challenges. And then we also have a slew of complementary policies. So electrification readiness to make it easier to electrify at the same time. And then finally, each of the entries has a set of examples. So in Pennsylvania, they had a whole home repair program that can provide upfront costs for things like mold or electrical issues, again, so that households can begin to participate in some of these broader energy measures that will bring down bills over time.
I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, we have time? Oh, what's up?
You're great, and folks just want to know if they should be following along. The screen is staying still.
The screen is staying still. Where are we at? Oh my, do you know what? I
Other
have
screen. I gotcha. Don't
I
worry.
have two screens open
You're
and I'm
good.
going through the wrong library. Yes, you should be following along, and I'm so sorry about that. So let's take another look here. Here you can take a look at your affordability strategy. As I was saying, what we just did is we went into, let's say, residential decarb. You can search by this strategy. This will take us down to something like we're just on pre-weatherization programs, and here is what each of those entries looks like. Is that coming through now? Great. I'm so sorry, folks. And then here again is model policy features, potential limitations and pitfalls for each one, as we said. And then for each of the examples, we also have potential hiccups or barriers that maybe in that policy, as it was implemented, may have been imperfect in some way, and that you can potentially learn from if they're going to be implemented in another place. And then finally at the bottom, related resources of either example policies, tenant protections in this case, and other things that may be useful for any of the users. And oh, can you still see that just fine? Great, okay. So there are a number of different ways that you can look for different kinds of policies up here. You can search again by these broad strategies. How do we think about residential decarb? You can look by region. We can look up things that might be a local option or a state option, policy mechanism, legislation, regulation, keywords. You can say, hey, what about data centers? And there's an example policy on cost containment for data centers and major loads. And we'll go through here, and there's a slew of different ways to try to ensure that data centers are held accountable for all of the potential costs that they may be putting onto other users and customers, and examples of where this has happened in Oregon and in Texas and things like that. And then finally, actually, there's a last search function here for community benefit. So if you want to look at, let's say, examples that also might achieve resilience benefits, you'll get a subset that are looking at residential solar and storage and weatherization. And the last component here that I wanted to highlight is, again, we have a slew of residential decarb measures, utility reform measures. We have another category here called funding and financing. And so if you take a look in here, there are some novel ways to think about ways to fund and finance some of these things. I'm thinking about the pre-weatherization for my house or electrical upgrades for my house. I got a quote to replace my panel and try to replace all our knob and tube wiring from 100 years ago, and it came in at $50,000. I can't afford that. Most people can't afford that, but that isn't necessarily funding that should go into rates in order to enable folks to electrify their house. So we have a slew of other options here. One interesting one I want to highlight are state and local taxes for clean energy and climate resilience funding, which includes an example of the Portland Clean Energy Fund, which put a 1% surcharge on gross revenue from city sales from retailers, and has brought in 1.77, or I think they've enabled $1.7 billion in grants towards various climate and resilience measures at a local level. They actually have more money, I think, at this point than they really know what to do with. So there's other ways that we can put funding into these things that are important, that either serves non-IOU territories or is outside of the utility payments. And a couple other policies I wanted to quickly highlight that may be relevant here, particularly at a local level. There are renter efficiency standards. So this is, you can do a search here. This, for example, includes an example from the city of Boulder, where they have renter efficiency standards that make sure that renters have access to different kinds of efficient, I think it's a mix of weatherization appliances, although I actually would have to double check that, and how they are helping and supporting landlords to achieve those standards. And that is something, for example, that you can do at a local level. And
Elena,
yeah,
would you mind? Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap
Great.
because usually we wrap our formal hour at noon. This
Okay.
is so good. Can you hang around for a couple minutes and we'll take
I can
some
definitely hang
questions
around.
in
And
overtime? Okay.
thanks
So
for letting me walk through. And this is a live library. We'll keep adding things to it. If you have ideas, suggestions, case studies, we'd love to hear them.
Elena, what I really like about you is so many things. You're actually based here in California. You really get what we're dealing with here. And thank you. Best practices. As a best practices coordinator here in California, I just really appreciate the work that you've done to compile all of this across so many different states. So thank you so much. If you have questions for either Martin or Elena or Eunice, join us in the overtime. So we're going to do that next. But I do want to give you a quick update on the forum before some folks might have to leave at the top of the hour. So go ahead, Kels. Kelsey? Or Rochelle?
Hi,
Oh,
everyone.
there we go.
Well, room block reservations are open now if you already know that you'll be coming to this year's forum. So we open those a little bit early. Registration is going to follow within the next 2 weeks. We're finishing up our identifying which proposals will be a part of the forum, and we'll be releasing the schedule out soon with that registration. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, but you should be getting an email about that soon.
Thanks, Rochelle. All right, last slide. We're going to wrap up the formal hour. We're going to go into our bonus breakout. Just want to say thanks again so much for all of our speakers being with us here. You know where to find us. If you ever have ideas for more topics or speakers you would like to hear about in LERN, we will be back again next month, actually April. And so feel free to always send more invitations. We're getting great crowds. It keeps growing. So appreciate everybody's help sending the word along. Let's go to our next slide. For those of you that have to take off at the top of the hour here, thank you so much for joining us. And otherwise, we get a little bonus breakout. This is an informal space for folks in the network to be able to share an announcement or a success story, opportunity, or maybe you have a need for information or you're looking for collaborators. Maybe you want to suggest another topic for LERN, or we could just continue this conversation. But what I like to do first is pipe down a little and just see if anything arises that anybody wants to surface.